Fortune 500 companies 10 years back, and now 30% company had disappeared. 170 company out of Fortune 500 companies are not in the list now. 45% CEO said, if we continue following the same business model, we will not be there in next 10 years time. You really have to act fast.
So the JIT, the 1970 Toyota model, which everybody had adopted, failed a bit.
This guy sent us an email that I can't give you crane. My delivery time is now 6 months more I need, and my cost is up by 20%.
It was blocking patient care. And in the Western world, access to care can actually put you under litigation.
Then we identified a supplier in Pune. We were stationed our team for 3 months there, and we made this crane make in India, and we saved €500,000 at least on this contract.
We localized about 20% of our supply chain, found suppliers in Chennai.
And that's how we evolved this whole distribution platform, manufacturing platform.
We delivered it in 7 months' time.
We have killed or we have brought down the inventory in the whole APAC level by almost 20%, which is a big number for such an organization.
World where a container stuck in the Suez Canal impacts supply across the whole of Europe. A semiconductor shortage in one part of the world halts car production in India. And a pandemic has the ability to empty supermarket shelves overnight. All right, so for today's panel discussion, we have with us seasoned leaders from fields as diverse as real estate, infrastructure, electronics, FMCG, eyewear, right? So let's start hearing from our guests about how they encountered shocks and what they learned in the process while navigating these challenges. So let me begin with you, Sridhar. And the FMCG industry works on speed, especially if we talk about the packaging industry. So the packaging industry, what I understand, is under continuous pressure for sustainability and due to rising prices. So I would love to hear from you, given your extensive background in FMCG and packaging, how have global supply chain disruptions impacted packaging innovation and sourcing decisions?
I will take 3 points to touch upon, and what we had as such in our business of FMCG D2C industry and the entire FMCG business from retail to e-com was a big shift. So D2C industry as such benefited a lot. So just to give you a bit of a statistics out here, the e-com business grew about 2 times from about 60 to 120 billion between 21 to 24 in India. And the D2C business, it was about 12 billion in 23, which will become about 5 times, which is 60 billion by 2027. So that's the kind of shift which has seen. And unfortunately, the FMCG giants, multinationals, they were a bit set back because they were more relying on the retail business as such. And there was a bit of a shock for them. The second point is the logistical disruptions which happened. And the third is the geopolitical reset. And I think it is very different from the pre-2020s. The entire relationship between the countries and India getting into a big thing. And also the UK, FTA agreement, which happened very recently, was a big thing. So these are the things which were there. There was no guarantee of free exchange of goods, and the tariffs was for strategic reasoning and bargaining. The balance of, so earlier there was a balance of cost versus innovation. It went into cost versus innovation versus reliability. So these 3 factors where the reliability was in a higher pedestal, as we went ahead. The second was the amount of inventory. So the JIT, the 1970 Toyota model, which everybody had adopted, failed a bit. So they were the just in case, where the inventory was to be kept, for resolving issues, and stock eventuality out of this thing was a bigger issue. Second was the close to home, the local inventory and the imports. We had to have a balance. So as they say, that bird in the hand is worth two in the bush, but all the three birds were important here. That's how it is. The Gen Z consumers specifically, and I will talk about it. So they comprise of about 40% of the total Indian population, 374 million. And they are 3 times the size of Europe. Okay, so that's perspective I would like to give. And, the 72% of the entire Gen Z population stays in India. So that's the perspective. And 60% of this Gen Z population purchases through the e-com. Okay, so that's how the trade, the trend has started changing. And so for them, Make in India is good, but they want quality products, global quality products, the benchmark to global standards, and personalization, niche products. And but one thing which is very, very critical is at Indian cost. So that's how I would sum it up.
Thank you, Sridhar. Thank you for the insights. I totally agree that we have moved, and most of the organizations have realized the need to move from JIT to just in case, right? So building on to that, Sundeep, you come from the heavy engineering and railway infrastructure, which works on complex and long production cycles, which makes it very susceptible and volatile to such disruptions. Right? So given your expertise, how have these global shocks, for example, surges in input materials or shortages of materials, impacted your production planning and delivery schedules?
So this was actually a opportunity, and you will be surprised to know that if you see the Fortune 500 companies 10 years back, and now 30% company had disappeared. 170 company out of Fortune 500 companies are not in the list now. And those are big companies. They were at least turnover of $25 billion companies, the big companies. So where the companies are going, either the merger has taken place or acquisition, or they closed down. So what happened to these companies, that the best of best companies, 30% companies disappeared. And recently there was a survey done in the global CEOs. 45% CEOs said, if we continue following the same business model, we will not be there in the next 10 years' time. You really have to act fast now, and you have to be really like a resilient organization to come out of these issues now. And things are not in our control. Things are not like yesterday. You have seen the tariff from Trump has come 25%. So I am exporting a lot to America. So what can I do now? Trump is not in my control. I can't control his tariff conditions now. But we have to find a ways and means how to be more competitive in the environment. There is a company called Palfinger in Austria, very good crane supplier, and one of the leading company, like a $2 billion company, very reliable for Plaza Worldwide. Only supplier giving cranes to Plaza Worldwide. And I am not supposed to change. It's a safety item because every machine has a crane installed, and this is a safety item. I tried many times to put a local crane. They said, no, it's a safety item. No European will allow me to change this. So then this COVID came in. This guy sent us an email that I can't give you crane. My delivery time is now 6 months more I need. And my cost is up by 20% because of the so many reasons at the end. And then these cranes I require for Indian railway tenders, where the price was really very challenging. We've taken this tender on a, let's say, Chinese competition, and then there are 2,000 crore worth of tender. And if I am not getting the cranes on this now, and I'm not putting the cranes on this on time, the whole project will go for a penalty risk. And the penalty was around 200 crore rupees. So what to do? Then we identified a supplier in Pune. We were stationed our team for 3 months there, and we made this crane Make in India, and we saved €500,000 at least on this contract, because all these cranes were made in India thereafter. And now this supplier is supplying cranes in Europe also. And this Palfinger then said, they approached me 2 years back, Mr. Batla, we want to put a factory in India now. So now they understood that if we don't put a factory in India, they can't beat the competition, because this crane is 30% cheaper than their price. So we use this to our advantage. A German supplier called Leoni Cables. I'm just giving the names just to tell you this. And this cable suppliers called us that I have a factory in Russia, is closed down. I have a factory in Turkey, closed down. I have a factory in Ukraine, also closed down. So I'm getting bankrupt. I will not be able to supply cables to you in future now. 2 months is time now. Only cable supplier for me. only cable supplier approved by my parent companies, and this I cannot really change cable overnight. We found a good supplier in Chennai, and this supplier was even better than Leone. He is an Indian supplier and and I could see this guy would not really identified in the past, and his cables are faster and much cheaper than us, even 30% cheaper than the previous cable we were getting. And he is my supplying cables to us now, 100% last 3 years, no problem in quality delivery, and 30% lower cost. Again, we saved €500,000 in the whole project. So I think if the problem has come, be happy about it. Solution is faster, cheaper, and much better for in the future. It will happen. We just need to work as a team and need to be positive, solution-minded. I think solutions are better.
Right. So, Pamela, let's move to you. So, building on that, let us now talk about the healthcare and medtech industry. So, this is one industry which is very critical, with literally the lives of people depending upon the timely delivery of medical grade materials and precision components for medical devices, right? So, how has Philips adapted to such disruptions? How have you faced such disruptions, and how have you adapted to these?
It's no more about cost efficiency, productivity. Slowly, if you see, most industries are pivoting their supply chain strategy to say that we want to be more 3 buzzwords, right? But not just buzzwords, they mean a lot, right? Agility, flexibility, and resilience, right? You will hear this everywhere. Every paper that you pick up on supply chain, you will have these 3 words. And it is so because, the strategic pivot has changed, where companies realize that cost efficiency is not as important with all of this volatility. Now, the Philips approach to this change of strategy has been, in the last, again, 5 years, at least since 2020, I have been with Philips. I would say from 2018-19 onwards, Philips has adopted a strategy to say that we are going to manufacture and move supply chains as close to the market and end consumer as possible. So it's not like always possible to be in the same spot, but we are going to do that, right? And when we say that we are going to do that, we are talking about, one, definitely localization, but depending on the type of industry, like he was just saying, so at times you have components which are safety critical. So unless a disruption happens, it is the environment for localization conversation is not right. The second thing is the type of industry you are in. Healthcare. So Philips, a lot of people still, when they hear of Philips, they associate Philips with bulbs and, mixer grinders. But actually, Philips is more of a healthcare company now. It's sold out all of those businesses. So which means we are heavily regulated by FDA, and by the CE, EU MDR and those regulations, which means localization or any supplier change is a huge deal. You have a lot of validation and things that need to fall in place before you can localize something. During COVID, the business that I was involved in, we were doing a manufacturing transfer from US to Pune. It was a large manufacturing transfer, and we thought that we will just move the manufacturing and supply chain can follow later, which was not such a bright thing to do, right? And in COVID, you mentioned e-component shortages, right? So we were at one point in time in a place where a capacitor, and I don't know how many of you are electronic engineers here, but capacitor is probably the cheapest thing that goes into a healthcare equipment, right? Was stalling in, MRI installation worth 800,000 euros in a hospital, right? It was blocking patient care. And in the Western world, access to care can actually put you under litigation, yeah? So when we were doing this manufacturing transfer, we found that we had our lines stopped. We could not manufacture. We were doing only 250 when the demand was to go up to 1,500 in 6 months. We did not have the ability to do that. And that's when what we did was we started forming something called cross-functional teams who try to come together with a very close-ended target in terms of time to say this is the problem that we have at hand and we need to solve this. We localized about 20% of our supply chain, found suppliers in Chennai. Yeah, one of our cable suppliers is moving factories from Europe to India to be, so adopting the same strategy as Philips to be closer to the end market. And I think within 18 months, through a lot of such initiatives, we were able to ramp up to 1,500 to 1,600 a month. That not only will we move to dual sourcing, and dual sourcing has come only after COVID in Philips. Earlier it was not dual sourcing. We'll also be doing dual manufacturing. So which means for all our critical machines, you manufacture in China, you also manufacture in Europe. So if there is a disruption in a particular geography of the world, you are not completely, drained out of this. So when I said that the strategy is to be closer to the market, we have a concept called local for local. So for example, in India, in Pune, we are manufacturing ultrasound machines, which are only sold in India market, right? But however, the large scale manufacturing of ultrasound for remaining globe still happens through the US. So I think, that pivoting, that change of pivot, and this approach has actually kind of helped Philips combat some of these things.
Thank you, Pamela, on your insights on especially dual sourcing. Right now, let's move on to Vivek. So, Vivek, you are in a consumer-facing industry, the eyewear industry, right? So, this requires a very synchronized supply chain, right? So, even small glitches can lead to stockouts. Right. So now, given that, how have these recent disruptions and supply shortages impacted you?
We are into a lens business, spectacle lens business. So the company name is Exotica. Since all of us are consumers of spectacle lens, if not today, at some point in time of life, we will be. Right? None of us will go without presbyopia, the age factor after 45. Okay, so as soon as you order your spectacle to a shopkeeper, the shopkeeper places a back-to-back order to a company, to a customer care sitting somewhere in the country, and that customer care directs the order towards the nearest factory. So it was a big challenge because we have been into a hub and spoke model with mother warehouse there, and these local warehouses selling stockable products, and the factories are producing prescription-based products. Now, it was just a week, and we continue to went to our local authorities, labor department, commissioners of police, to take the permissions to open the warehouses. So we were the first ones among all our competitors to open our mother warehouse in Bangalore with no factory operating anywhere. Still, the consumer who is sitting in Gurgaon wants to have a spectacle available. We have been in a small, hub and spoke model. So we started working upon a new delivery model. We learned from Amazons of the world to went into a direct delivery model. So we started developing logistics partners, signing up contract with them, and even in the mother warehouse, we turned that mother warehouse into a mini warehouse, packing small packets for each and every consumer to the shopkeeper, and doing the direct shipments right from Bangalore to Gurgaon, right from Bangalore to Jammu, right from Bangalore to Ahmedabad. So that's how one part of the challenge was dealt with. Okay, we fought the challenge, we came out of it. We learned we need to do something from the long-term perspective. So what we went ahead with is with all these factories. So we had about 20 factories across the country, and started with a terminology called BCP, Business Continuity Plan. Somewhat similar to what Pamela talked about, having agility, flexibility, and so on. We termed it as a BCP. That means every factory should be able to produce every product. If one factory is stopped, then we should be able to produce in another location. So that is one. Then this happened not only across South Asia, which we were the owners of. We started going the regional level also. The larger factories that we have in India, one in Gurgaon, one in Bangalore, these are mega factories. The other factories are all mini factories. So even these mega factories became backups of each other, and the factories in Thailand, factories in Thailand becoming backups of each other. So BCP, apart from faster delivery, faster service, BCP always started coming along with it. And that's how, we evolved this whole distribution platform, manufacturing platform, and addressing all these disruption what we faced during that time.
Now let us move on to a different industry, which is Krishnan. You work with the industrial and logistics real estate, right? Which is at the intersection of global shocks and local responses. We have seen the evolution of e-commerce and now quick commerce, right? So we would like to hear from you that how have these changes impacted the demand patterns, not only in urban cities, but also in tier 2 and tier 3 markets?
The first one, COVID, brought about a structural change, a behavioral change, right? Sridhar mentioned about e-com. It really grew, right? People started doing things differently. They started tapping, they started using their phones because, right, this is a structural behavioral change. As far as the other two things go, which is your whatever's happening in Ukraine or what is the situation right now and tariffs recently, it's more an operational challenge. It is not, there's no structural behavioral change that happens, right? That was one part. So I work in a very unsexy, boring business because it's warehouse after all. In fact, people, InvIT is NDR, InvIT is Infrastructure Investment Trust. It's like a REIT, Real Estate Investment Trust. I'll just cite a few examples. India is a consumption country, right? Close to 60% of the GDP is consumption. The balance is, we're not such an export-oriented country, right? We're not. Pretty much the consumption thing. And what happened was like what Sundeep mentioned, we grew during COVID. The e-com really helped us. I think Amazon called us up and they said, we want you to set up an order fulfillment center. And they gave a timeline of 12 months, okay? And we delivered it. It's on a 30-acre facility, state-of-the-art facility. I've seen their warehouses in Europe. I've seen them in the US. It's no different. You walk into this thing, robotics, people working and all that. Now, how do we do it? I mean, it was tough. One was there were restrictions in terms of movement of people, our people, right? I mean, we couldn't get. So we had to perhaps get higher because India is a country where production happens in one places, consumption happens in different places, and labor pretty much comes from 2 or 3 states, okay? So we had to fly in people. We delivered it in 7 months' time. And within the next 2 months, Amazon fitted it out, and this was inaugurated. Of course, it was done virtually. So that was one example. Now, where did this warehouse happen? Since it happened in a tier 2 city. It happened in Coimbatore. They want to cater to south part of Tamil Nadu and Kerala. So what has happened is, now, again, if I go back to India's GDP, so one is the consumption, the C part. Second is your I, the investment part, which private capital formation has not really taken off. But what did the government do, the G? During COVID, their spending went up. And they're building more and more road. When you do more roads, and when you do some policy changes, like the PLI, Make in India, give a lot more incentives. It spurs 2 things. One is it spurs the capital formation. And second is it improves the reach. So that is the time we realized that, yes, tier 2 cities is something we can't ignore because a lot of demand used to come from there.
Thank you, Krishnan. Thank you for your insights. How do you think collaborative supply chain, right, collaboration with your suppliers and other stakeholders has helped you navigate the challenges?
So in supply chain, when you are dealing with suppliers, the power of anticipation of issues is very important. Because I think once you know the issue, collective experience in any team is always enough to find a solution and to beat it. The point is who is able to anticipate the problem faster. Yeah. So the only thing you can do is increase transparency across chain. When there is more transparency, information travels faster, it travels less distorted, and then you have the information arriving to you in time for that collective intelligence to play a role in solving it. Yeah. I was talking to you about e-components issues and localization. So we went ahead and localized this supplier in Chennai. And we are all very happy, now we have localized the PCBs. And then we again see supply shortages, increased lead time. Arey, abhi to India se aa raha hai. Aapko pata nahi tha kya? So once you start seeing, you see the tier 2 components of this supplier and your previous supplier are coming from the same person in Taiwan. Yeah? Not knowing just what my tier 1 supplier is doing, but also having visibility to what the next tier is doing, right? Where will they have challenges? These suppliers are not small suppliers anymore. In fact, some of them now have the ability, technological ability, which is much better than yours, right? So collaboration is no more just restricted to you sharing your plans and anticipating supply chain issues. It has now expanded into co-creating products, co-creating solutions, and anticipating all of this together. Yeah. So I think not just to supply chain, but even in technology, without supplier collaboration, it is extremely difficult to be successful. The journey has been like me being the big boss, big brother to, we are partners to now we are, we are together in everything, right? We are just a part of the same chain. Yeah. So that's my experience.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Pamela. Vivek, building on to collaboration, right, across with your stakeholders. So in your industry, things are becoming more and more complex, especially with consumers demanding different things every day. So in such a scenario and such a synchronized supply chain, how do you ensure traceability?
When a retailer sells something, he puts up a demand to a wholesaler. When a wholesaler sells something, he puts a demand to a distributor. When a distributor sells something, he puts a demand to manufacturer. And the demands changes with the season, the demand changes with as the customer visits their shops. And how this procurement happens or the demand happens is at every step, every person adds a factor of safety. And what happens is at every level, this keeps on adding up. End of the day, let's say if we sell 10 products, in the whole supply chain, we might be carrying 50 pieces. That's a big pack, To kill this effect or to kill this thing, this whole phenomena is what we call as, bull. And then somebody is there in this whole chain who can crack the whip. Who is the manufacturer? The starting point was visibility law. Otherwise, in the whole supply chain, we are carrying a lot. Your planning mistakes are costing me a lot because I am the one who is carrying the biggest inventory in the whole chain, right? And when we solve this, we say it as a bullwhip effect. So that's the phenomena that we have set of factories in the country. Let's say about 20 factories I talked about. And then we have mother warehouse in Bangalore. These 20 factories sell to the market. They prepare their own demand. They give their demand to the mother warehouse. So they have their own safety factors. The mother warehouse adds further to it, orders it to the parent factory or the mass production factory in, let's say, Thailand or in China or in Philippines. And the same thing happens across all the other countries and all the other companies. Because when I'm referring to India, I'm referring to only one company. We have 10 such companies here. Okay, and same in China, same in Thailand, same in Philippines, Korea, the whole APAC. Imagine we are selling, let's say, 2 million pieces a year, but we are carrying 10 million pieces of inventory, right? Now, to kill this, we started working upon a concept called DDMRP. In the market, it is called as DDMRP. You would study during your course, demand-driven material and resource planning, okay? Internally in our company, we call it DRP. Now, what we do is, all these companies, they are connected with a central planning software. That means whatever gets sold at the last point, the point of sale, which is our last warehouse, in the tier 2 city of this country, the visibility is completely available with the manufacturer directly, right? So now whatever junk these small warehouses, these factories, the mother warehouses add to the whole planning chain, it is killed by the manufacturer directly because I know what you are selling. So I will produce what I need to. And he controls the whole supply chain. And that means he's the one who is cracking the whip. To this effect, we have killed or we have brought down the inventory in the whole APAC level by almost 20%, which is a big, big number for such an organization. So that addresses the technology part along with what I learned in Great Lakes.
Okay, thank you, Vivek. So with this, we have come to an end of our panel discussion. I am very sure that the audience must have enjoyed thoroughly. Thank you everyone for being so patient. And thank you panelists for your thought-provoking conversations.